appreciate you coming out and learning more about apprenticeships. And I want to say thank you to Norman and Katrina for joining me today. It's always really important to have an employer who has experienced this process in the room to talk about their experience and how we're really here to serve you as the employer. So a little bit about our office. We were established in July of 2019 as part of the Tennessee Workforce Development System. And we partner with those departments that you see listed there on the slide to create talent pipelines. So we create talent pipelines through state certified pre-apprenticeships that lead directly into registered pre-apprenticeships. And the way we do that is with a lot of outreach. So when people ask me what I do, I tell them I connect the dots for a living. That's really what I do, is I bring people together. I consult with employers, so I cover 40 counties here in Middle Tennessee and serve the employers in this area to design training programs. If employers are interested in certifying or registering their apprenticeship program with the USDOL, I actually work with them to develop those registration documents for them. Once they are happy with those documents, we secure a signature, and our office actually submits them to the USDOL on behalf of that employer. We follow the registration process, and then upon registration, we stay on board to provide technical assistance for the sponsors or the employers. So we are not a state agency that's going to send you a link and say, here, complete this and good luck, I hope it works out for you. We really are here to walk the journey with you. And Katrina's going to tell you a little bit more about that. Katrina and Norman.
All right. Well, thank you for the invite today, but I'll just go by the slide here. The application for the apprenticeship program, I have to tell you, when we first started the process, I thought, oh my goodness, an application with the state. I was kind of dreading it, right? It was very, very easy to complete. It was a standardized application, and I can't speak highly or enough about the second bullet point, but Charlene and her team, they were there the entire way. We had several conference calls, any kind of questions that I had about the application, they were there to assist. So please do not let that deter you. It is a very, very easy process as far as the application. Some things to consider before you look at your pre-apprenticeship program or state apprenticeship program is the starting wages for your jobs. Make sure you have what that minimum would be, because that is required within the application. Also, everything is driven by a standard format. So you do not have to be computer savvy. You do not have to be a whiz in Excel, which I'm not. It is all kind of pre-populated for you when you go through the application process. Also, the other tracking system, it's called RAPIDS. I'm sure that's an acronym for something, but I'm not going to attempt to clarify that. Again, I had the application, and then now I have a tracking system. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how am I going to keep up with all this? All I do in RAPIDS is I register my apprentice. That's all I do. The system, it goes through the process of qualifying that apprentice. They're automatically in the state apprentice program. It keeps up with their hours. It keeps up with everything. I don't have to do anything else after that. Again, I had preconceived ideas that, oh my goodness, here's another database I'm going to have to keep up with. How am I going to do that? It was completely easy. So anybody that would like some additional information on that, I can't speak enough about how easy it was to get it started.
Thank you, Katrina. Norman?
Yeah.
All right. So prior to being a registered apprenticeship program, Russell Brown had a training program already in place. And in the ecosystem of work-based learning, there are a lot of terms. There's work-based learning, there's internship, there are training programs. And what our office does is we work with employers to register those, like I said, with the USDOL, so that they are a registered apprenticeship program that results in a credential from the USDOL for those participants. It is a structured training program. And here in a minute, we're going to talk about the 5 core components. But first, I want to show you our September 1st numbers. Earlier this morning, Governor Lee talked about growing apprenticeships in Tennessee. And you can see here that when our office was put into place, we were right at 366 registered apprenticeship programs in the state of Tennessee. On September 1st, we were right at 403 programs. So we are registering programs. I meet with employers every day. I came on board in April of 2020, and since then I've worked to register over 20 programs and worked with several existing programs to grow theirs. Overall apprentices, on September 1st, we had 7,162 registered apprentices in the state of Tennessee, and you can see that that's grown from 55 in December of 19. We are currently tracking at a 30% growth rate in the apprenticeship TN office, and this is a heat map across the state of where our apprentices are in the state. And you can see here in Northern Middle, there's quite a bit of activity in the apprenticeship world. Now, what that means for you is as you're building out these talent pipelines and people are looking at what company do I want to start my career or further my career with. This is very much a recruitment tool. We were just having the conversation of how many people internally are wanting to enter this apprenticeship program. They want the opportunity to earn this USDOL credential. So this is one more thing that can set you apart from your competitors. So the 5 core components of a registered apprenticeship program, and I really cannot overstate this first component enough, it is employer driven. I'm not going to come to you and tell you you have to do X, Y, and Z. We create a custom program that meets your employer needs. That program does involve structured on-the-job learning. That structured on-the-job learning is specific to the occupation. So we've registered HVAC and plumbing. We've registered HVAC and plumbing. And so those 2 occupations have structured on-the-job learning. I believe they are both 8,000 hour time-based programs. So for that structured on-the-job learning, there are 3 models. There's a time-based, that is exactly what it sounds like. They have to complete 2,000 hours, 4,000 hours, 6,000 hours, or 8,000 hours of on-the-job learning before they earn that credential. Then there is a competency-based, where it's a list of competencies that the apprentice can work through at his or her own pace. Someone signs off stating that they have mastered that competency, and then they move on. The third is a hybrid. So it's a competency-based with a time range for that apprentice to complete those. Those 3 models aren't available for all occupations, but I can help you navigate what is available. So some manufacturing and construction occupations only have the time-based or the hybrid. They don't have the competency-based occupation available, but I'm here to walk you through and figure out which model is best for your company. The next piece is the related technical instruction, the RTI. Now, I was told yesterday by someone in hospitality that if we say technical in their industry, that it kind of throws a wrench in it. So it's related instruction. If you happen to be in hospitality, we're taking technical out of it. It's basically the classroom piece. So it's the classroom piece that they would get either internally, like at Roscoe Brown, there's an internal training program. It could be at a TCAT. It could be at a community college. It could be at some third-party training, like an association training that's available. The next piece is what Katrina was speaking to, the rewards for skill gains. So we do work with you to create a progressive wage scale. And the only requirements there is obviously it has to start at least at minimum wage. And then upon completion of the apprenticeship program, the individual needs to be making a wage that is comparable to that occupation in that area. If you are using a competency-based or if you're using a hybrid-based, then a lot of times employers will tie that progression to mastery of those competencies. So I recently registered a program for the National Hardwood Lumber Association. Their program is going to have 32 competencies to master to be a hardwood lumber inspector. And so what that looks like is they have an entry wage, and then once the apprentice has mastered 8 competencies, they get a 10% raise. Once they've mastered 16 competencies, they get a 10% raise. If you choose a time-based program, then that might look like once they've completed 500 hours of on-the-job learning, they get a 10% or a 5%. It's completely up to you. We do not dictate that. And then finally, the National Occupational Credential. So the apprentices, upon completion of a registered apprenticeship program, will receive a credential like this from the U.S. Department of Labor. In some circles, this is called a journey worker credential. So if you know anyone who says that he or she is a journey worker, electrician, or plumber, they have this credential. So this is a credential from the U.S. Department of Labor, and it will certify that the person has completed an apprenticeship for the occupation of plumber under the sponsorship of Roscoe Brown, and then there will be signatures there. And the sponsor actually has access to this. So once the apprentice has completed the apprenticeship program, you go into Rapids, you complete them, you print this off on some pretty paper, put it in a nice frame, have a graduation ceremony, call the media in, and really celebrate the opportunity that you are offering your staff. So I mentioned the on-the-job learning and the related technical instruction. This is what this looks like. So I've registered programs for truck drivers, for certified nursing assistants. Those were 2,000-hour programs. So about 1 year of full-time employment. So they require the 2,000 hours of on-the-job and additional 144 hours of related technical instruction. When you start talking about plumbers, when you talk about electricians, linemen, those are usually 8,000 hours, so that can fall anywhere in there, okay? We have registered programs in the healthcare space, in the IT space, manufacturing, construction. There are well over 2,000 occupations that can be added to a program. And once you register your program, you can add as many occupations as you want to. So if Katrina wanted to bring in an apprentice to learn what she does in HR, she could bring in an HR.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? In any space like that. So, you know, everyone needs a digital marketer these days. There's a digital marketing apprenticeship. And we're always here to help you navigate what that might look like. So 3 main responsibilities in a registered apprenticeship program. These are the 3 main responsibilities. There is a sponsor. The sponsor assumes admin responsibilities. That sponsor registers the apprentice in Rapids and documents the on-the-job learning and the related technical instruction. What I have found with most companies that I work with, they're already documenting on the job and learning anyway. So you already have that. We're not asking you to add another layer of that. While it is not required, I do encourage them to upload that into Rapids upon completion. That way, if you did go through a compliance check with the USDOL, all you ever have to do is open Rapids and everything's right there. You don't have to go digging. But everybody does it a little differently. I was recently visiting with Renew Biomedical in Jackson. They have an apprenticeship program for people who service medical equipment. And those apprentices, these are grown people, they had their brag books. And their brag book included all of their credentials, how many hours, you know, and they were so proud of that. And it was good to see that. I really enjoyed touring their facility. Some companies have these elaborate Excel spreadsheets that I really could not make heads or tails of, but that's how they tracked it, and that was what worked for them. It is completely up to you. The employer hires the apprentice. They pay the apprentice according to that structured wage progression scale. They provide the structured on-the-job learning, and they assume the cost of the training. So here in Tennessee, we do not want training costs to be a barrier to any apprentice. So the employer does assume the cost of that training, and then I connect you to Frida Herndon. And Frida helps you navigate any type of funding that may or may not be available to help offset that training cost. So what that looks like is anytime federal money comes to the state, or anytime we are awarded a grant, we distribute that out to the local workforce development boards, and then employers contract directly with them. And so our office does not handle the funding piece. Finally, the training provider. The training provider provides the related technical instruction. And I want to really point out that an employer can do all 3 of these things. Roscoe Brown is doing all 3 of these things. Or you can partner with a TCAT or a community college who could be your sponsor and or training provider. So that is completely up to you. If you choose to partner with a TCAT, we can make those connections with you. We will bring them to the table. We will talk about what that looks like. Frida and I were just having a conversation about that this morning with a local TCAP who is the sponsor and training provider for an employer in West Tennessee. And I don't work with that a lot in Middle Tennessee, but I know there are some models in West and East. But you can definitely do all three of those things as your own, as an employer.
Okay, why did we need it? Why did we get started with an apprenticeship program? In our industry, the skilled trades, like many other industries right now, there's severe shortage in the industry. We just can't go out and find, we need to add more techs, we just can't go out and find them and bring them in. Realize that for long-term success, we were going to have to hire and develop our own people. So that's when we added the apprenticeship program. We can have a steady stream of people. So as we need to add and put another person out in the field, we will already have those people available instead of having to try to go out and find somebody, which if you go out and find them, you don't know what you're going to get. When we're training our own, we're training them the way we want them to be trained. They're already going to know the process, so putting them in a truck is a very, very simple process. We feel like long-term having a registered apprenticeship program gives us a little bit of an advantage over some of our competitors. In some areas, not in Tennessee, but in some areas, they do require people to have gone through a certified apprenticeship program. So if somebody did move out of state, they would have a certified apprenticeship program. So it would be an advantage to them having that certified program. We took the state's program. We already had a apprenticeship program for the training part of it, and then we just incorporate that in with the state's program. So our program for training purposes is designed to take about 18 to 24 months. We are trying to speed that up and make it about a 12 to 18 month program that we can put somebody that doesn't know anything about heating, cooling, plumbing. We can start them through the program and basically have them up to a point where they can catch most any call at the end of that 12 to 18 month period. Then all they'll lack to get the final state certification will just be the hours that they need. The good part about our program is they're able to work and take the classes all at the same time. What they learn today in class, they may go out this afternoon and actually see it in the field. So it helps their learning by being able to see that in class, then go see it in the field and get their hands on it and get the hands-on part of it. We were just talking earlier, you know, if we put out trying to find a HVAC tech or a plumber, we just don't get a lot of applicants. It's hard to find. For the apprenticeship program, we are having stacks of applicants. So we're getting a lot of activity wanting to go through the apprenticeship program. So that's the good part, is we've got a lot of applicants to be able to get started in it, and then we can kind of develop them and grow them as they go through the program.
Thank you. And so that pipeline that Norman was just speaking to, once your program is registered, and a registered apprenticeship is meant to be a full-time, long-term employment opportunity. This isn't a one-semester work-based learning. This isn't a summer internship. They are meant to be a long-term hire. If you choose to have a youth apprenticeship program, which means that when you go through the registration paperwork, you say that you will accept 16 and 17-year-olds. Youth registered apprenticeship program is a registered apprenticeship program. So when we registered this program, they put 16 as the minimum age that they would accept apprentices. And so in that, 16 to 24 is that youth range because they could be in school anywhere in between there. They could be part-time employment and going to school. If it's an 8,000 hour program, it's just gonna take them a little bit longer to earn those 8,000 hours, but that's okay, because now they have the opportunity to pair what they're learning in the classroom with that on-the-job learning. And again, the cost there for that training is on the employer. Then we work to build those talent pipelines back into a state-certified pre-apprenticeship. So again, in the work-based learning ecosystem, there are a lot of terms floating around. And what we discovered that there were some organizations out there who said they had pre-apprenticeships and they were charging people, and it did not lead to a registered apprenticeship program. So what we did in November of 2020 is our office went before the State Workforce Development Board and got a policy implemented that we actually do a state-certified pre-apprenticeship program now. And so, again, our office is here to walk you through that process. It's 3 pieces of paper. There is basically an outline of what it is, then there's an application, and then there's an MOU, a Memorandum of Understanding. And what that looks like is, for example, if you wanted to establish a state-certified pre-apprenticeship with Rutherford County Schools, then you as the employer would outline what you're looking for in a candidate. So maybe it's that they have gone through 3 years of the construction CTE courses here in Rutherford County, or maybe it's 3 years of the business courses. Or maybe you want them to have earned an OSHA 10 credential or an NCCER core credential while they were there. You outline that in the MOU. The high school completes the piece of the application for the most part because they're gonna say, this is what we're going to do. This is our end of it, okay? And then that can be the education piece, and when they come to you, if they've earned some of that related technical instruction, or maybe they have completed a 1-semester work-based learning opportunity with you, you could credit them that RTI or that on-the-job learning that they earned during that pre-apprenticeship. We have some very successful models of that in the high school spaces, in the adult ed spaces with our Department of Corrections. Adult ed provides training for individuals who are seeking to earn their high set, or what used to be called the GED, and then they also offer some other training. So again, they could be earning some of that related technical instruction in that area. The Department of Corrections, our TCATs and our adult ed are very active in those facilities. So those individuals may actually be coming out with some kind of certification. The rule of thumb is you can credit 100% of the related technical instruction. So we have a pre-apprenticeship at TCAT Cross School for truck drivers. And what that looks like is any individual who wants to go through that truck driving class at TCAT Cross School, they can. And that cost is on them in the pre-apprenticeship space. Columbia State has a pre-apprenticeship that we're working to get state certified. It's not yet. They have a pre-apprenticeship for linemen, and it's pretty costly. But I taught high school for 16 years, and I had students come to me who wanted to be a lineman. And I had no clue how to get them in that direction. Well, now Columbia State has a pre-apprenticeship where they could go get that education, and then Nashville Electric System, they do have a registered apprenticeship program, so they could hire from that pipeline and credit them some of that RTI if they chose to do so. So that's the state certified pre-apprenticeship. Our goal really is to create that talent pipeline. And what happens is the person at the Department of Corrections or adult ed or the high school will reach out to that employer and say, hey, I've got 10 students who have met X, Y, and Z. Would you like to interview them? You're just obligated to interview them. You are not obligated to hire them. And that's another point I want to make. Even if when you register this person, they are your employee. You are not obligated to keep them. They are your employee. So if it doesn't work out, if it's not a good fit, you reach out, you say, hey Charlene, I need to jump on Rapids and cancel out this apprentice. And we jump on a Teams call, we cancel them out, and that's the end of the discussion. So why? I think really the why, Norman and Katrina have done a wonderful job of talking about the why. Really, everybody needs to build a competitive workforce right now. And apprenticeship, you know, it's one of those things that we're really recycling. We have registered apprenticeship programs in the state of Tennessee that have been on the books since 1930s. This is not a new concept. It is a concept that was lost for a number of years, and we're reviving it. So it is a time-tested model, and it is adaptable and flexible. It is a program that we can build out to fit your needs. We are not coming to you to say, this is a one-size-fits-all, take it or leave it, hope it works out for you. Benefits to employers, we are really trying to drive down your turnover cost. We want to create a talent pipeline of reliable employees so that you can experience higher production with highly skilled employees. And what we're seeing nationwide is that for every dollar spent, there's an ROI of at least $1.47 in reducing those turnover costs. And that is a nation statistic that's set out by the USDOL. I feel confident that that's probably changed a little bit and probably even improved since that statistic was put out. So I usually just go through this slide really quickly because I speak with employers every day, and in the past 6 months I've not spoken with anyone who couldn't say yes to all of these. But if you can say yes to any of these as an employer, then a registered apprenticeship program could be right. It could be a good workforce strategy for you. I've covered most of this already, but the minimum requirements for a registered apprenticeship program is that the apprentice must be a hire. If they are not receiving a wage, they're not an apprentice, okay? They are a hire. Full-time, unless they're a youth, and then it could be part-time. Minimum age is 16. They need to be legal to work in the U.S. A minimum of 2,000 hours per year of on-the-job learning. So even if you choose a competency-based program, they need to get 1 year, 2,000 hours, one year of full-time employment, or 2,000 hours over 2 years, or however long it takes them to get that, to earn that credential. And basically what that is saying is the USDOL says for you to be considered an expert in this field, you need to have some time in the field. This is not a credential that we're just handing out, because what we want to see is a high tide raises all boats, and that as these credentials become more recognized throughout multiple industry, it means that this individual really does have the on-the-job learning to pair with the classroom learning. The 144 hours of related technical instruction per year, so for every 2,000 hours that's required in time, an additional 144 hours of related technical instruction. So for the 8,000 hour program, it was a minimum of 576 hours of related technical instruction. Again, that can be internal. Anything that you do onboarding, any kind of safety training that you already do, any kind of training that you offer in-house, that can count toward the related technical instruction. The wage progression that we talked about, the registration paperwork that I complete for you and walk that journey with you, and then we work together to maintain your program and update it periodically as needed. So again, I came on board in April of 2020 knowing very little about apprenticeship programs. As a high school teacher, I was very passionate about finding opportunities for my students to be successful post-secondary, whether that was college, career, whatever that looked like. I had walked that journey with several students over my career. And when I got into this role, I started hearing a lot of things. And I had gone through training with the USDOL, some online training, and there were just some myths floating out there. So I usually like to end here with these are some of the myths that are floating around out there, and these are the facts that maybe debunk those myths. Registered apprenticeship programs are not just for unions or large employers. So this morning they talked about Eastman. Eastman's huge, and they do have a very successful apprenticeship program. But I've registered a program here in Middle Tennessee for a custom woodworking company that had 3 employees because it was a very niche. There was nowhere else someone could go learn that skill. They needed a registered apprenticeship program. Only for construction trades or manufacturing. I had that conversation at Nashville State yesterday. I said, it's so funny because people think the only industry where there are apprentices is culinary or construction. Like I said, there are well over 2,000 occupations that we can build apprenticeships out for in the IT space, the healthcare space, business. We've registered programs for insurance agents. Other states have very successful real estate or banking apprenticeship programs. So lots of different companies, only for non-college bound individuals. I'm having this conversation a lot here lately because we know that in a college setting, there's usually some type of work-based learning component that's required. If you're in a 4-year program, your junior and senior year, you usually have to go do some kind of practicum. Because I'm going to tell you, I felt so prepared after my 15 weeks of student teaching to go into that classroom and teach a bunch of high school kids. That could be part of a registered apprenticeship program. So if that company chooses to hire that person long-term, then they could credit them that, and now that person has a stackable credential in addition to their degree to say, yes, I have the degree, I've gone through school, but I also have some on-the-job learning, and this is the person that you could contact to verify that. The federal government will micromanage my workforce and tell me who to hire. That's not the case. This is your program, this is your company. I mentioned compliance checks earlier. So once you register a program, your company is eligible for, or could be up for, I said eligible yesterday, and an employer was like, oh, thank you so much. We appreciate the eligibility. That you could be up for a compliance check every 2 to 5 years. And what that would look like is someone would come in and say, can you provide documentation that this apprentice has received 8,000 hours of on-the-job and 576 hours of related technical instruction? And have they been paid according to the pay wage that you set? And if it's above, we usually set that as a floor because nobody's going to complain about being paid more, right? But they would complain about it. We set that at a floor. That's what a compliance check would look like. We're not looking to micromanage. We like everyone else, we don't have the manpower to do that, and neither does the USDOL. And even if we did, that's not our jobs. So I do want to encourage you to follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn. We do celebrate, we celebrate new programs there. We keep you abreast of conferences. We have an online conference coming up in November. So please look up Apprenticeship TN on Facebook and LinkedIn. Also would like to invite you to explore our website at apprenticeshiptn.com. There's a wealth of information there. And then this is my contact information. So we have a West Tennessee director. Her name is Shalandria Shaw. She came on board about 6 weeks ago. Our East director is Holly Free Allard, and she is also our state director. And then I cover Middle Tennessee. So that is our contact information. If you can't get a hold of me, either one of these ladies will be happy to help you. But I'm usually pretty available to get back to you in a timely manner. And so with that, are there any questions? Okay. Well, we've brought some lanyards and some notebooks, and my cards are in the notebook, so if you didn't grab one, please feel free to pick up a notebook and a lanyard. And Katrina and Norman have set their certificate of registration there on the table for you to take a look at. If you have any questions, we'll be around for a little bit if you wanna ask those. How much time? It's 10:30. We got 15 minutes. I wonder, do you think the website would pull up? Are we connected to the internet? We can try. I don't think it's gonna pull up there. There's a space on our website. If you go to employer sponsor and you go to how to start a new program, there's a space there where you can request information, and that information will go directly to and someone from our department will actually reach out to you. So there are multiple ways to get in touch with us. Please feel free to call, text, or email me anytime, but you could also go through our website. All right, well, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you being here today.